Freedom?
Yeah.
You never heard of this?
I'm trying to get in the mind of someone who shows up, it's a Thursday night, they're, had a tough day at work, they come in here, they see this guy up here, he's speaking mysteriously in riddles. Why should the person take that next step?
Well, freedom is something that is fundamentally important to the human condition. I mean, we're all born wanting to be free, and it's what's really sad is how the word itself has been perverted from this beautiful concept of respect for that which makes us truly human to something that we want for ourselves. And you see a lot of people in America, their vision of freedom is, well, I've got my bubble. Freedom is something that I have for myself, and I don't care how many brown people on the other side of the planet you got to kill for me to have my freedom, I will have it. And that's it. And people are waking up now, and they're seeing that it's something a lot more than that. Even guards in prison in D.C. And actually, the real reason you should read this book is because it has been endorsed by the highest authority in the land, the United States Department of Justice.
Now wait a second here, Adam. You're telling me the Department of Justice endorsed your book?
Yeah, they told us it was banned in jails and that it was a threat to the good order and security of the institution. We take that as an endorsement. We've actually been sending copies of the book into jail for a while now, and it was just recently we got this letter from a warden telling us that the entire publication was a threat to the good order and security and discipline of the institution. Yeah, that's why we wrote it. So, this was just the first time one of them was dumb enough, had the integrity enough, I don't know however way you want to describe it, to write us a letter according to their own regulations explaining what they were doing. And the few times that we have gotten copies of the book in the jails, we've had people sneak them in. If you work in a jail, if you're a counselor, come see me. We'll get you as many copies as you want. And they get them in. And what happens is the inmates want them so bad that they have to keep a waiting list of all the names on the inside of the cover. And it's because they're victims. And what we often forget, as much as we talk about coercion and the negative effects of violence determining our relationships, that everything government does is backed up with the threat of violence. How do they actually control us? How do they control the majority of the population? With words.
Consent.
Yeah, that's how unfree we are. They say words and we go, okay, here's our freedom, Mr. Government. And it's words that set people free, and it's words that give people the confidence in knowing what it means to be a victim of the system. And I gotta say, every time we go to a different event on the tour, it's beautiful to see how people are waking up to this, because the people who are the first ones to question the system aren't the captains of the football teams or the cheerleader squads or the student body presidents. They're the economists. I mean, they're the outcasts and the misfits and the economists.
I was runner-up for captain of the cheerleading squad, just to let you guys know. There's all these stereotypes. I didn't even look the way they wanted me to.
Runner-up. He's never satisfied. Freaking libertarians, right?
What does it take to make my dad happy? Okay, but enough about that. So, this is a true story. This is not, I know it sounds like we're doing shtick up here, but I actually, when you were locked up, I tried to send you a book by Gandhi, and they wouldn't let that go through. And I was trying to get them to send me like a form letter. I wanted to have something official saying, you cannot send Gandhi to a prisoner, but...
You just keep trying, and eventually they screw up and go, oh, we're supposed to write the dude a letter, aren't we?
So what is did they send you an official letterhead?
Yeah, we published it online and put out a press release. Mainstream media didn't care. And it's funny, this is the only place, there's a reason they ban books in jail, right? There are only really 4 places the government can effectively ban books at all. One is in libraries.
Yeah.
Does anybody go to libraries anymore? Right? You can still get the books, right? Okay, in schools, they can keep it off the curriculum, but they can't really stop students from reading. And in military PXs, on military bases, they can sort of control things there and make sure that you get lots of pro-military porn. But the other thing is, in jails, and jails are the only places in America where Americans still read. It's really funny. It's the only place they have time, and they actually read books in jail. So I spent a lot of my time in jail reading, and that was what motivated this. But yeah, they sent us the official letterhead from the Department of Justice explaining what they were doing.
Right. Now, just for people who don't know, I've talked with Adam about this. So in your book, you tried to do something different, right? That you said other ones have like a lot of historical things, and what is the angle you took in your book that makes it set apart from other ones of that genre, let's say?
Nothing but pictures. There are no, I'm not big on facts. I like words, but I'm not so big on facts. No, we wrote this book in a way that's as true for anybody as living under the American government as it is living under any government in the world. And you know that when you're talking about something as essential to human happiness as freedom, it has to be universal. It can't be an Amerocentric thing, but Americans have been so propagandized to believe, like, hey, you're God's gift to liberty. You know, this actually does give me the one thing that gives me pride in America is the significance of the revolution as a step forward for humanity. But holy crap, it's been a lot of steps backwards since then. And we have an opportunity here, once again, to set the example for the world. And I think it's really exciting that this is where you have enough people who have woken up to the fact that we're all victims of the system in some way. I mean, how many people have been arrested for a victimless crime? How many people have had a family member had their life ruined because they went to jail for some bullshit that didn't hurt anybody?
Show of hands, triple murderers in the house. Okay,
Yeah.
back in the back there. Okay.
How many people had an idea for a business and then they were just like, oh, you know what? Can't afford the cost of registration and regulation and all the paperwork.
I killed a man just for thinking about charging me with a victimless crime.
Everybody gets this now, and you know what? It's I'm tempted to every time I think about this. You know, the Apple commercial. Here's to the crazy ones, right? The outcasts and the misfits and the rebels. I think in the Apple commercial they say the square pegs and the round holes. Screw that. We're the round pegs and the square holes that government sets up for us to live in like a bunch of squares. But no, we refuse. And it's the people who are seen as victims of the system that are first to question it and to see something better. And we are not the crazy ones, because there's nothing good about, I'm sure you've heard the cliche, being labeled sane by a sick society. So if you're not on the outside, if you're not making change from the outside, you're just part of the, I don't want to say you're part of the problem, but you're missing an incredible opportunity to move humanity forward at this beautiful point in history. By the way, I wanted to gauge the crowd for you earlier, Bob, and you cut me off before we got to get really fun here.
Okay.
But you know what else is going on with this? Every time we get to really interact with the crowd, we ask people what you see that people do to live differently based on this experience. And people will say, oh, growing food, yeah. Oh, taking their children, homeschooling their children, right? And then you get them afraid and they go, not paying taxes. Any enthusiastic taxpayers in the room, you can leave. When you realize government mainly uses your money to hurt people, you tend to rearrange your life to limit your tax liability at least. But there's something else. There's something else. And I don't mean that there are more of us who are doing yoga, obviously, than ever before. Taking charge of their health and their fitness and providing a beautiful example for the statists and that. But you all know that marijuana is a gateway drug, right? No. I'm really glad to find out that marijuana is legal here too now. You're not allowed to carry more than you can shove in your mouth at any one time. Marijuana is a gateway drug because it's a gateway to freedom. You can't smoke pot and not realize that the government's totally full of shit. But there's something else. Bob, have you noticed? I know this has probably been big for you. As we approach the end of the beginning of the end of the war on drugs, it's a very exciting time to see marijuana legalization happening. This major chunk, and as an economist, even an economist can appreciate the scope of the economic impact of the war on drugs. It's not just harshing your buzz, dude. It's really an economic drag to be locking people in cages for smoking a plant. But as we get to this point, and people are realizing pot shouldn't be legal because it's safer than alcohol, or because it's a silly idea for a government to regulate a medicine, but that you own yourself and get to decide what you put in your own body. This is what else we see, and this is what everybody's afraid to say. Is anybody here? Don't cheat for anybody. Does anybody know what I'm about to say? What else is going along with all of this, with this cultural awakening, with people being more happy and living more free? America is experiencing a psychedelic revival right now. Does anybody notice that?
No.
Everybody. This is the one question where the audience response you can just multiply by 3 and know that there are a bunch of people sitting in the back going, I've done acid. I smoked DMT that one time. And they're afraid, and it's funny, but people are increasingly not afraid to say this. And the reason this is so, well, I don't know, what do you think of the audience? We got a bunch of trippers here.
Did you hear that they just said that it's all green?
Hey, don't be holding out, man. Share.
You're the one singing Beatles songs.
Right.
No?
Yeah, I figured off the Red Album ones more, but yeah.
You're on acid right now, aren't you?
I can neither confirm nor deny that.
Good answer. There's something that you get from this that is so beautiful, an overwhelming sense that you can get from meditation or yoga, or I run barefoot, that's what I like to do. Sex, whatever does it for you, whatever gets you closer
I like
to...
sex barefoot, that's what I try to do.
While
Yes. He's like, what? Your husband?
when you, one of the things, have you ever done acid, Bob? I'm putting you on the spot.
No, I have not.
Liar. He's sweating, look at him, he's sweating.
There's hot lights.
Why are you trembling? Why are you shaking?
I think we should talk about your book again.
This is about the book. When you get this, whether it's from any of these things or from just appreciating freedom itself, you guys don't want to feel freer in about 30 seconds? Well, never try this in a bar. All right, you ready? I want you to close your eyes, take a deep breath in, and just consider for a moment that everything is right in the universe. And exhale and open your eyes. You feel a little bit more free now? See what we did? The person who gets that sense of acceptance, whether it's from meditation or acid or DMT or having barefoot sex with Bob, it's an overwhelming personal freedom. I think more people have been brought to the message by a romantic evening with this man than by hearing Ron Paul at the Republican debates. You cannot manipulate someone who gets that. Someone who gets that cannot be manipulated by fear or propaganda or be divided by hatred. They get to come together. Like Bob was singing about. Promised myself I wouldn't cry. Sorry about that.
You want to? Okay, so why don't we wrap this
On that
segment
note,
up?
some music,
Yes,
ladies and gentlemen.
These guys are going to be spreading here for a minute. Once again, let's give a hand for Adam Kokesh.
If you haven't yet, come get a free
He's
book.
going to be over there if you want to talk to him more, and then you have to say more embarrassing things about me, hopefully not in range of a microphone or recording device. And we're going to have Furious Primates up here just as soon as they get set. Thanks everyone for